Chief Metz, the Aurora branch of the NAACP is very proud of our relationship. I know there are times we're probably not seeing eye to eye, and at times our conversations can become tense. But through this relationship, we've been able to help a lot of families. We've been able to bridge some of those gaps within the community, which is one of the reasons why we wanted to present the Aurora PD, Aurora Police Department with this award. More importantly, this is the vision of Dr. Shannon Bannister, our founder, Dr. Levester Lyons, who really began to bridge those relationships, and Barbara Jones. Barbara Jones has been a strong supporter of Aurora Police Department, and even going as far as wanting to start a cadet program to make sure we can recruit people from the community to be involved with law enforcement. So thank you for making this relationship possible, and we want to continue to look forward to building more bridges within the city of Aurora.
I can't thank you enough for the recognition of that. The women and men of this organization are incredibly dedicated and committed to this city. And I've been here 4 years now, and I think one of the things that really heartened me when I first got here was how the local chapter of the Aurora NAACP embraced me, not only me, but also embraced the department. That the chapter here clearly understands the importance of having a partnership, a relationship. And you said it earlier, I mean, we're not always going to see eye to eye on things, but that's part of relationships, right? And for us to be able to have those kinds of honest dialogue when it's necessary, for us to be able to provide information for public safety reasons, for helping to build trust in the community, it's absolutely important to do that. And at the banquet, the award banquet the other night, I mean, one of the things I said there was that, and you and I have talked about this, is that I really think what we have here in Aurora with the partnership between the police department and the chapter could really be seen as an example of how it should be around the country, because not every city, not every police department, not every chapter of the NAACP has that kind of a relationship. And it didn't just happen. It takes a lot of work, and it continues to take a lot of work. So I'm just happy that you all are willing to step in that and be uncomfortable at times when it's necessary to make sure that we're able to have that kind of a relationship.
Well, I hope we're definitely able to continue the relationship. I think is beneficial to the community, is beneficial to the families that we help. It's beneficial to making sure that there's true transparency. And anytime we've asked questions, anytime we needed information, you've been able to assist us. So I look forward to continuing the relationship. Look forward to you. I mean, I don't think a lot of people know that you are a member of the branch as well, and several members of the police department are members. And even when you come to a meeting, sometimes those conversations are tense. Sometimes those conversations are uncomfortable, but you keep coming back. So thank you.
But the conversations are honest, right?
Yes.
They're honest. And I think part of what I think the police department prides itself on is not only that partnership, but wanting to make sure we have transparency. Because we know, you and I both know, we've been in the trenches together on a few things, that it's not going to be a matter of if something controversial occurs, it's going to be a matter of when.
Yes.
And so to be able to have those kinds of discussions, and even if it's tense at times, and if we're on different sides of an issue, the thing that I've always found with this chapter is that it's always a respectful dialogue. And I think we all do a very good job of being willing to listen to each other and to hear what each other has to say. And there's no doubt in my mind that the Aurora chapter of the NAACP has done a lot to help us be a better agency in how we deliver service and how we communicate with our community. And I think what's great about the chapter as well is, and the police department, is we both see our role as serving the entire city, the entire community, regardless of anyone's affiliation, ethnicity, and so forth. It's about making sure that we provide good policing and good service to our folks.
Well, I think that was also exemplified recently. You showed up to a barbershop talk.
Mm-hmm.
You and Commander Dudley,
Right.
and you wasn't in uniform, and you sort of just blended in. Maybe only a couple of people knew who you were, and you listened to both the what's working well in the Aurora Police Department and areas of improvement. And those areas of improvement was some sharp criticism, but you sat there, took it in, and gave some responses and said, hey, here are some areas of improvement. Here's where I need assistance. I think that's admirable that you would take time, you and Commander Dudley would take time with just the community and listen to their feedback and figure out what are the next steps. I think that's the type of leadership we respect in the city of Aurora and that we need as we continue to grow. So looking forward to maybe some more barbershop talks if people don't recognize you.
Right. Well, and I think what was really cool about that barbershop talk was, as the discussion went on, people began to realize the police can't do it alone.
Mm-hmm.
We can't solve society's ills by ourselves. Yes, there are things that we need to do and be willing to take a hard look at and figure out ways to, make sure that we're delivering service better to our community. But I thought what was great about the outcome of that was a recognition that there are a lot of things that we have to work on together as a full community, police, folks in the community, residents, businesses, and others, to really work on these issues, whether it has to do specific to police-community relations, or as unfortunately we've been dealing with this last few weeks, is the violence that we're seeing in our city, in our streets, and that takes a community, that takes a village to work on those issues. We have our role as far as the investigation, obviously, in trying to get that person who's responsible for those atrocities arrested and put away. But there's still a mark left there. There's still a family that's really hurt. And I think where we can work together and we acknowledge that is that we've got to make sure that we do everything possible to make sure that others don't receive that kind of hurt, that kind of tragedy. Because you've been there and I've been there. There's nothing worse than knocking on a door and telling a parent that their child is not coming home. And so that means we have a shared responsibility when it comes to working on that.
It's definitely a shared responsibility. And what I like is that there's open discussion in regards to being proactive and prevention. You and I have been talking about it, and I think now out of that barbershop talk, maybe we can get the full community engaged on what we can do from April to September while school is about to end and while school is out during the summer, to give young people something to do so that there isn't that open space of time to probably get into trouble. And I think between the community, Aurora Police Department, and some of our other community partners, I think we can develop a model plan to help get those things done. Because the last thing I think you and I ever want to be engaged in again is delivering that news, going to a murder scene, and having to watch the family deal with that internally and deal with that trauma. But I have to say, you've made yourself available to help those families, in some cases going beyond what I think some agencies do. Being there yourself to answer their questions at a murder scene. I don't think people know all that you have done. So thank you for that. And hopefully we'll have more celebrations of what we're doing great in crime prevention and less of going to murder scenes to help a family.
Absolutely.
You know, the police department will get criticism for certain things, but there are some officers out there who's stepping in front of someone with a knife, hoping that they don't get stabbed, and they want to go home to their family. There are those that are running into burning buildings. There are those going into car accidents that trying to save someone's life. And it's for the work that the full police department has done, but definitely under the leadership of Chief Metz, we have seen some changes, and we want to keep those changes in a positive direction so that we can continue to bridge that gap between certain elements of the community that feel disheartened by the police department, and so that we can begin to figure out what we can do better in our city with the police department so that we can be that model of what can work between community and law enforcement.
Personally, I think I've been here 4 years, and I've received a number of awards on behalf of the department. I think this is probably one of the most important ones that we can receive from the standpoint of that there's been a long history of an adversarial history between many chapters of the NAACP and its police departments. And to have a chapter that recognizes the importance of partnership, that recognizes the importance of dialogue and being honest. And we've said it earlier before. I mean, we've had some very tense conversations. We've not always been on the same page. But we always leave those discussions with mutual respect still intact. And knowing that, if something happens in our community that requires both our organizations to, provide some kind of attention to, that it will be done again in a respectful and dignified manner. And there have been there have been situations where we've been on opposite sides, but there's been more where we are actually working together, where we have, we've had, victims of crimes or families who have needed help, and to be able to work together to make sure that those families get the assistance that they need. That to me is a strong example of what that partnership is about. And I feel blessed, and I hope that the NAACP chapter of Aurora feels blessed that, again, we've got a relationship that many cities around the country don't enjoy.
This relationship, I think when people talk about the relationship, we're isolated to only certain conditions. Police abuse or police brutality, they think that's the relationship between the police department and the community. We've had to deal with a lot more than just those types of discussions, where we're trying to help a family get moved that has been a target of a hate crime. If I have an adversarial relationship, or the NAACP has an adversarial relationship with law enforcement or the city, we couldn't have gotten a family moved to a secret location because they were targeted of a hate crime. They were targets of a hate crime. You have to have that relationship because it goes far and beyond just some of the other things that come to our plate, or people that come to us with in regards to the NAACP. I feel comfortable being able to pick up the phone, having that conversation with the chief or with the city, and we're able to take action to help people as needed. Thank you.
Covered it. Thank you, sir.